Page object model simplicity. A good way to stay flexible is to write less code. So the page initialization with base class. Instead of initializing the page in each classes, let's try to create a base abstract class. So this makes code much simpler and easier to understand. At the same time, we introduce some standards to be followed in our code while starting to code with page object model. So if this is really not going to make sense, let's see this in action. So in the last video of this course, what we were doing is we created a page object model and also we moved all the objects of the page in this class, the login page class, and then we tried to initialize the page over here, and then we executed the test and the test got passed. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write one more page. Let's say I'm going to write a page for the user list. So once I log into the application as admin, I then see that I will have a employee list. Once I click this employee list, I should see the search text box, something like this. So if I want to verify if I end up to this employee list page, then I need to create a new page in here because the employee list is again a different page than compared to the login page.cs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add one more page in here and let's call this as employee page, and then I'm going to add some of the objects in here. So for adding the objects, what I'm going to do is I need to identify their controls property. So let's see what is the control property for this text box. I think the text box has got a name and the name is search term. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this line of code. To save some time, I'm going to paste it right here, and let's add the references for the find by, and then let's add the reference for the iWeb element. So everything is fine now. And now let's add the name as search term. All right. And now you can see that within this employee page, again, I have to call the initialize, the page initialize method. So again, I have to call a constructor, and then I have to again call the page factory dot init elements. And again, I have to pass the driver, which is nothing but the iWeb driver of the driver. And then here I have to pass the driver, and I have to pass this as the page. So this is a kind of overwriting the same code again and again. So it's always better to reduce the number of lines of code and make some standard to be followed in our code. And that's why, if you remember, in our framework design, we created a class file called basepage.cs. So why is this empty now? Let's make use of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this class, the base page class, to be a abstract class this time. And then I'm going to call our page initialize in here, and then I'm going to make this guy, the base page guy, to be a base class for all our pages which we're going to write in future. So what I'm going to do is I need to call the page initialize in this particular class file. So for doing that, we first of all need to add the Selenium package. So again, I need to install the selenium.support package for my EA Auto framework. So I'm going to hit enter. All right. And now if I go to the reference, I can see that I will get both the WebDriver and WebDriver.support added in my reference. And now if I create a constructor for the base page, and I can call the page factory, put control dot initialize element, and then within this initialize element I need to pass the driver. So again, I'm going to pass the iWeb driver as driver, and the iWeb driver is again missing, so I'm going to add the reference. And then within this init element I will pass the driver and this as the page, and then I'm going to save. And now how to make use of this base page class? All you have to do is to call this base page to our login page.cs. Pretty simple, right? And now your initialize page method is no longer be usable. I mean, you don't even have to write this code anymore. All you have to do is to just pass the iWebDriver to the base class itself. But we need to somehow call the base class here by calling like this, base page. But how to do that? But currently you can see that we'll be getting an exception here. And the reason is we did not add the reference for our EA auto framework yet in our project. So let's quickly add that. So I'm going to add a reference, and the reference is going to be solution this time. So I'm going to select the EA auto framework. I'm going to hit OK. And now if I press control dot, you can see that I'll be getting a using EA auto framework dot base namespace. And now if I add this, I'll be getting a different error altogether. I'll be getting there is no argument which gives the corresponding required format of driver to the base page, meaning I don't have to do these things anymore. All I have to do is just pass in base of driver, and the driver should be actually coming from iWebDriver of driver. And this is how you can actually write the code. So as you can see, my initialize page does not have any page initialize here, but still I am passing the driver, and that's the reason that I need to write this constructor. And the same thing happens for this employee page as well. I don't have to do this page factory.init elements anymore because it is being taken care by my base page of my framework, but I need to pass base of driver. The reason is I need to pass the WebDriver in here, right? And the reason which I created this employee page once again is to show you that every time you're going to create a new page, all you have to do is to just call this base page base class, and then your page initialization will take place there automatically. You don't have to explicitly call this page initialize for each and every classes, right? This is going to reduce some lines of code for you, but still you see that there is a problem. Why do I again write this constructor every time in all these pages, right? So in the next video, we'll try to overcome this problem by using this driver contest.cs class. So far we have not given any life to this driver contest.cs class, but we will come to the class and we'll give life to that class, and we'll reduce this lines of code as well.